So if someone walks up to you in the street and they say, Alex, what idea should I pursue? I've just quit my job.
Yeah, right. So I would say business ideas typically come from one of three Ps. So it comes from a pain that you're currently experiencing, a past profession, so the thing that you just quit or some of the jobs that you just quit, or a passion. Mm-hmm. So something that you're inherently interested in that you would spend your time doing anyways, some skill that you learned while you were in the workforce, which, by the way, is one of the most proven ways of making money because the economy has already showed you that people are willing to exchange money for that specific job. And so in the world of gig economies and solopreneurs, every business can be dismantled into just jobs being done, and all of those jobs can be fractionalized. So anybody, like, we look at any business, you've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got customer success, you've got customer support if you want to differentiate that, you've got product, you've got design, you've got web pages. There's so many different components to a business. You just need to learn one of them. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, boom, you have a skill that you can trade for money that you don't have anybody else to report to. And then pain is usually, I think, in some ways, sometimes one of the biggest drivers is like you had an eating allergy and you couldn't find pancakes that dealt with your specific eating allergy. And you bet that there's a decent amount of other people with that allergy that also like pancakes. And so then you make pancakes that are delicious and amazing that also cater to people with that food allergy. And then all of a sudden, like, you have a business based on pain.
And why does that matter?
What
the
part?
Pain part.
What
leverage and advantage does it give you for the next 5 years?
I think that deep knowledge of the prospect is paramount or very important for creating exceptional products. And you can either do that by doing a ton of research or by being the prospect. And there's a certain amount of like visceral feel that you'll know. Like if someone wants to make a nose product for breathing, I have tried every product since I was in 8th grade. So it's been 20 plus years, 30, whatever, a lot of years, that since then, and I've tried everything. And so I know the pros and cons of every product that exists in the market. And I can tell, and I've done, it's not like, oh, I tried it for a day. It's like, I'll try things for a month at a time. And so I have so much time exposure to this problem that I have a lot of nuance in my opinion on what's wrong with the solutions. So I can formulate a way better hypothesis on how to fix it.
And that hypothesis will be, for an investor, so much more compelling because you lead with a story as opposed to logic.
I met the guy who invested in Regal Cinemas, which is probably the biggest chain in the U.S. And it was when there was a guy who had just one theater, and it became, now obviously COVID has disrupted that business, but for 20 years, whatever, they crushed. And he said it was so weird to say that, oh, cinemas are going to make a comeback because they'd kind of been on a downturn or something like that during the time that he was making the investment. And he said, the reason I decided to invest in it was because this guy knew everything about the business down to how much the cost of a kernel of popcorn was. And he just knew it so like the back of his hand that he was like, this guy can't fail. Like he just knows too much about this business to not have it work. And so in investing in, making $1 gazillion. And so, but I think that deep understanding, and if you look at all of these, the passion things, you'll have deep understanding because you're spending all of your discretionary time pursuing this passion. The pain, you have a deep understanding of the problem and the prospects going through it because you've experienced it probably for years. Now, the professional one, I would say, is a bit of a shortcut because if you're quitting the job because you don't like it, mm-hmm. and then you say, I'm now going to do this for myself, well, you're okay. The one proven point about that is that one is proven to work from an economic perspective. You will be able to make money doing that because you already have made money doing it. These other two are less proven, but sometimes have significantly more upside.
When you were talking about the breathing example with your nose, it's funny because if you had sat down and said to me, Steve, I've made these like breathing nose strips, they are better, they're 20% more durable, they expand your nostrils by 20%. It is multiples less compelling than you telling me that story you just said about being a kid, having breathing problems, trying to solve this problem for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that story you told versus the sort of rational, logical approach or the benefits approach is your marketing campaign for the next 5 years on TikTok and Instagram. It's, I had a problem, I solved it, I tried everything and solved it for myself. There's almost like nothing more compelling and believable.
No.
We see that in Dragon's Den. We'll be sat there listening to these pitches all day. Then someone will come in and say, I had ADHD, I tried energy products, they all made me crash, so I went out and solved this problem for myself. And we're on edge because we almost can't argue with it at that point,
Yeah. So Bezos has this great framework where he talks about missionaries and mercenaries. And so it's kind of like you have the guy who says, okay, I looked at market trends and this is a growing category. And, I surveyed people and this was the result that came back. And so I believe that if we time this product right at this point in the market, we'll achieve huge, a mass adoption, blah, 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 blah. And it's like logicking your way through. And to be fair, some people do make it work. But the missioners are the ones that end up making the most money because like they do it sure for the money because the business has to have some economic engine behind it, but really because they viscerally experience this problem and don't want anyone else to deal with that problem either. And so like, if I were to tell that story, like you were saying, like when I was in 8th grade was the first year that I started really noticing I couldn't breathe at night. And so I learned how to fall asleep with my hand on my face like this so that my nostril would, so I could fall asleep and my hand would stay. Because there's no actually other, because you can't hold your, because you fall asleep, right? And so if I fall asleep with my hand like this, right, like I'm on the couch, and I fall asleep like that, it keeps my nostril open, and I can fall asleep and it doesn't move. And so that's how I learned how to sleep for years before founding like just like simple nasal strips and things like that. But there's tons of problems with those solutions that exist right now that I won't get into. But maybe someday I'll make a nasal product.
I mean, you literally just delivered.
Yeah, bitches. I can tell you, if you put every product in front of me that exists right now, I can tell you what's wrong with it. Because I've tried literally all of them. Not like I'm pretty obsessive, and so like I've tried all of them.
You're missing an opportunity here, Alex.
I've tried the ones from Europe. I've tried like not just US. Like I've tried every product that exists on Amazon. I've tried all the ones from foreign countries. Every fan or follower who sends me a product that is a nasal company that's new, I will try the product. I still do. And there's yet to be one that has truly solved it.
I mean, you should. I mean,
I'll stop. But I think in some ways, so this is actually a really good meta concept here, which is that if you want to be compelling, a demonstration or a model is always more compelling than anything else. And so me even going through that entire narrative, right, is taking everyone else who's been listening to this on some journey. It's like, if you want to make a compelling pitch for a business, it's like, we pretty much just kind of went through one. And so that's really what it comes down to. It's like, well, what do I do with my business? It's like, create your narrative of why you're even doing this. And if you can explain to somebody why they should care about this problem, or more specifically, why you care about this problem, I'll tell you this, more investors will, like, I might be like, I don't care about kitchen utensils, but this girl certainly does. And I'm sure there's other women who do too. And what everyone wants to see is obsession. And unfortunately, in like some of the world, I know more in the UK than the US now, like that kind of perspective of like just being all in obsessed with stuff has almost been like bastardized, or like, been chastised. But the people who are obsessed are the ones who change the world, at least change their world. And I think that, so a very close friend of mine did all the Olympic teams, nutrition and supplementation stuff for a country overseas. And he said, you know the difference between champions and everyone else? And I was like, what? And he said, everyone always looks at them and says, what do champions have that I don't have? And he said, they have it backwards. He said, it's what do champions not have that I have? It's what do they lack? And it's an off button. They just don't stop. And so in dealing with the gold medalists, he's like, they just never stop. They just can't stop. Everything in their life is geared towards one goal. And so finding that thing, and they approach everything in their life that way. And I think that level of obsession around like everything that you touch on a daily basis is required for really getting to where you want to go.
All right. So my name is Hector Quiroga. I'm the owner of an immigration law firm. We do
immigration law firm?
Immigration, yeah.
Got it. U.S.?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
24 million last year, or run rate right
24
now.
24 million last year?
24, yeah.
Okay.
And our run rate right now is 60 million.
Nice.
Yeah, something happened in January. So we would like
It's amazing for you.
Yeah. We'd like to be at 100 million on revenue. So what is stopping me is, I'm sure I have a little bit of a shiny object before me, and that is I can expand our current operation, open more locations, and why not do more. But to get to the 24 and 60, we developed quite a bit of technology inside our processes, procedures, software, apps, all of this.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where, from my perspective, when you're trying to develop tools for the thing, and those tools are probably more valuable than the thing itself, I feel that I could profit out of that.
Don't start a software company.
It's too late. Way too late.
So, no, I'll be clear what I mean.
Yeah.
So this is actually, I think this is really important for a lot of people. So a lot of services over time become more technologically enabled. And you do that because you want to expand your service ratio, right? You want to get, you can drive more incremental margin because you can get one guy who could normally do 10 deals or 10 customers, whatever, to doing 100 in the same period of time. So it dramatically improves the margin of the business. But the thing is that the decision to then say, you know what I could do is I could start selling this to other immigration firms. I'm telling you right now, if you have $100 million per year with probably high margins because you use technology in terms of how you're doing it, do that. The likelihood that you actually do true software is such a different animal. But the thing is that you can get almost the best of that world with tech-enabled service, which is what you have. And so you have service revenue multiples, you have service EBITDA multiples, and then you have tech-enabled service, which sometimes can get 13, 15, 18 times bottom line. Right. And then you have true SaaS multiples, which you're just not gonna have anyways because you're not gonna burn your business to the ground. So I just don't think it's worth pursuing. But you can get a huge amount of alpha in terms of enterprise value lift just from having the tools, which you have. So you're doing everything the right way. Don't just try and sell it to other people. Just keep using it to maintain and multiply your competitive advantage compared to the marketplace. This gives you a market leadership position. You drive more EBITDA than everyone else does, and for them to copy you, they have to copy your software.
Okay, then let me pivot.
Then what?
Then let me pivot just for a second.
Pivot, okay.
So I'm going to say, not to the software thing.
Sure.
I'm going to go through
Keep
these
building
markets.
it, but for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, going into new areas cost me about $150,000 to open a new location, get it trained. It's too slow. I feel like I can only open about 2-3 firms in a year to get it profitable.
Sure.
If I could lease my factory, in other words, I can go to other lawyers and say, listen, family lawyers, bankruptcy lawyers, other lawyers, and say, here's how you sell this. I'll train your salespeople and feed your cases through my machine. Because what they care is about winning, right? So if you feed it through my machine, we can get that. I could sort of amplify the speed on which I could do more, right?
Yeah.
So you just told him long-term versus short-term.
It's definitely new, to be clear. This isn't a do more strategy.
Yes. Okay. I know it's a follow-up, but that's.
You're like, do more so that I could do more. I was like, I know what you did there.
Yeah.
So basically, you want to have an affiliate model that you want to introduce to these other attorneys. What do you want to do with the business? You want it to 100 million, right?
Right.
So how many offices do you have to open to get to 100?
Probably like 5 more offices, maybe 4.
So 24 months to go from 24 million to 100 million? Then why are we talking about anything else? Mm-hmm. No, I'm being super real.
Right.
Like, this happens, honestly, more times than it doesn't happen, which is, hey, I've got this thing. I am incurring this friction, right? I have this constraint in front of me. And so rather than deal with the constraint, I'm going to start a new business. It's like we all do this. So, but what's the one thing, if it were true, would make all my worries go away? Well, if you got 5 more offices open, you'd be at 100 million. So let's just do that. It's the thing you already know how to do. You open up 5 more. If it takes you 2 to 3, I'll bet you if you just put out of your mind that you could do this other thing, that if you took all of that effort and said, how could I open 5 this year?
Right.
Then you probably would figure it out, because it's not a capital issue. 150 is nothing for a new location relative to the revenue. Each office does what, like 15 million a year, something like that?
Yeah.
Right. So let's do that. The thing is what you're running into is a problem that everybody deals with, but it's purely a focus issue. And this is why the Zuckerbergs and Jobs get on stage, and Bezos get on stage, and they talk about how it's just ruthlessly focusing. And at every level, the opportunity that you have to say no to looks juicier.
Yeah.
Because you have already this base. But if you know you can get 100 million, and there's very low likelihood that doesn't occur, and it's doing more of the thing that you already know how to do, and you have market dominance compared to other people because of tech that you invested in, for the love of God, do it. Just do that. It's hard though because the other thing looks juicy.
Which one's info? Which one's the service business?
Left is info, right. Service.
Right. I even to say anything else. You already know.
Yeah.
Right. And so the difficulty with the quote information education world is that it's one of the easiest businesses to make some money on. It is one of the hardest to make a tremendous amount of money on.
What do you think that like ballpark numbers, just so everyone knows, like when you say like some amount of money, are we talking like?
I mean, let's look at like there's a handful of $30 million a year businesses, in the quote information space. There's tons in the 1 to 3, tons and tons and tons. Because that's about like if you just reverse engineer price points, it's. So I like to reverse things to to the human capacity because that's a constant. And so some of you guys are familiar with Dunbar's number. Between 120 and 150 is the amount of people that someone can like kind of manage in their heads, right? And so businesses will typically cap with no systems, which the vast majority of businesses don't actually have systems. They say they have systems, but they don't. Caps around 150 people to manage. And so most of those businesses, if you reverse engineer price point, for any kind of information plus services, gets you somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million, maybe $5 million a year, and then they kind of cap around there. Now, the difficulty is that if someone is good enough, okay, here's my analogy. So let's say that I have the best tasting milk in the world. All right, that sounds weird. I have the best. Let's say I have the best coffee. Thank you. I have the best tasting coffee in the world. Okay. Actually, coffee is a bad analogy for this one. So let's go back to milk. So I have the best tasting milk in the world. Okay. If I give you two options, option one is I can take this full glass of milk, which is what you're used to paying for, and I say, I'm going to pour shot glasses of the best milk in the world, and you can have a shot of that milk. Or I can take this milk and pour it into the same size glasses, same number, but I'm going to fill the rest up with water. Which would you rather have? The full amount, but more diluted milk, or a shot glass of the right kind? Which one would you rather have? Shot glass. That in and of itself is why the quote coaching business does not scale. So the idea that somebody will, if what you do is so special and so valuable that you can teach someone how to do it in a weekend and be a coach for you, how valuable is it? Now, it might be valuable, but the likelihood that you can actually teach someone to be good in a weekend is low. And so the only quote coaching models that I have seen scale are one of two permutations. Permutation one is you take people from the audience that have been you for a very long time and you give them away where they're getting a significant rev share. I'm not talking 10%, I'm talking they make half or more of the revenue, where it makes more sense for them to continue working with you because you generate deal flow for them to grow their own business underneath of your umbrella. That's option one. Option two is you run a large event style business. You look at Tony Robbins, you look at, whatever, like there's a handful, and there's not many. And that's the Tony Robbins version of that, in my opinion, is best milk in the world, shot glass. You're getting, you have smaller volume of that access or that interaction, but it's so good, you're still willing to pay for it. Now, how well does Tony Robbins coaching do? And I love Tony. I'm a big, he's an awesome guy. But I think most people, I would bet, I don't know the stats on this, I would bet that the NPS scores and the customer satisfaction scores of people going to an event with Tony for 5 days is higher than people spending 5 days with his coaching staff. That would be my bet. And so that's because you got a full dose of diluted milk, or would you rather have the shot of the best stuff? And so most of those businesses do cap because so the cap ends up being, you can still scale it, but the milk has to be so fucking good that you actually have to be able to be diluted, the volume of what they get is still good at a tiny, tiny amount of access. Most people aren't that good. And so instead, they cap at 1 to 3 million-ish. Sometimes they sell something that's super expensive because the space they're in. They're selling something related to, the real estate tends to have higher things. Anything investment related tends to have higher LTVs, things like that. And then those people can get to maybe 10, 20-ish. But then again, it becomes difficult. ROAS continues to drop. Margins continue to compress as you try to go to colder and colder audiences. And then you end up in one of these machines where you're like, I have to keep selling people in order to pay my bills. And then all of a sudden you have a $20 million a year nonprofit and you hate your life.
So stick with services. So
It just depends on what you want. If you're like, I want to make a few $1 million a year, you absolutely like it is one of the fastest ways of making a few $1 million a year.
But if in contextualizing to myself, like I feel like I've kind of jumped a lot of that hurdle. Like if I'm already doing like this run rate,
I think you're
it's
doing
like
great, man. Yeah. Stick with what you're doing.
Cool.
I'll spell this out though. Like I want to be clear. I don't think there's a problem with it, like at all. I'm just saying that it depends on what we're solving for. If you're like, I want to build a $1 billion company, it's probably not going to be in information. It's probably not. If you wanted to have, and like you probably won't even have an exit because it's so key man driven. But some people don't want to. Like a friend of mine, PC, he was at the launch. He I think it was 11 years or 12 years. He lived on $70,000 a year for him and his wife, and then he sold for $250 million. Some people don't want to live on $70,000 a year for all of their 20s and their 30s, and then make 250. Some people would prefer to make a few $1 million a year for their 20s and their 30s, and not have the exit. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just when people try to have both where it becomes a problem. And so people are just unwilling to make trades. And I just see that as just a human problem, not like a, this versus that problem. Like I want everything. Okay, cool. So does everyone. But like it doesn't tend to work that way. I want to have a super profitable business that grows really fast and also has tons of enterprise value. Pick two. This is the entrepreneur life cycle until you learn how to break free from it. And so there are 6 stages. You have stage 1, which is uninformed optimism. This is where you see your friend or you see something online and it looks like they're making money or it looks like there's some opportunity and you think, oh my God, that sounds amazing. And you have optimism because it looks great, but it's uninformed because you have no idea what it entails. So then you dive in and you say, okay, I'm going to pursue this thing, whatever is it, baking cupcakes, or I'm going to do lawn mowing, or I'm going to do crypto trading, whatever. Second step is you get into it and you're like, oh my God, I don't know. There's so many things involved in this, and this is significantly more complicated than I expected. So then you become an informed pessimist. You now know that it's hard or significantly harder than you expected. The third stage is you have your crisis of meaning or the valley of despair. So you're continuing to do this stuff. It's continuing to not work. And you keep working, and it keeps not working. And so this is the step, and this is the point of truth. And this is the cycle where the paths of the entrepreneur split. And the vast majority of people take this next step, which is they then say, you know what? There's that thing over there that my other friend's doing. Maybe I should do that instead. And so then they hop back to uninformed optimism, and then they go boom to informed pessimism, and they just go around and around and around, and they live the same 6 months for 20 straight years. Now, the other path from the valley of despair is sticking with it. And so then you become an informed optimist, because now you understand, you still understood all the bad stuff, but you also understand the good stuff and how to avoid the bad and maximize the good. And then once you're there, you stick on that path long enough and you end up achieving what you originally thought was really easy and fast. And so that cycle, this is more or less the Alex Hormozi life story, which is why I can so intimately describe each of the steps, is that I call that loop and that the person on the other side, the woman in the red dress, which is probably my favorite part of the Matrix movie, which is Neo, who's the main character, is in a program to teach him one thing. And so he's walking through the crowded streets of what looks like a New York City with Morpheus leading him. And he's droning on about something that he's supposed to learn. And he says, Neo, were you listening to me? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress? And Neo was looking at the woman in the red dress as Morpheus is talking. And then he says, look again. And he looks back at the woman in the red dress, and it's Agent Smith with a gun pointed at his head. And in that moment, he's like, freeze. And he explains that you're either one of us or one of them. And they are the people who are sentinels sent to destroy us. And so what appears to be the woman in the red dress is actually an agent from the system meant to destroy the opportunity that you're in right now. And so I love the woman in the red dress so much because it's so real. Because you're in this thing, you're in this relationship with your business. And you're like, this girl seems great. And then you get to know her and you find out she snores when she sleeps. And all of a sudden it's like, you see the sweatpants and no makeup in the morning, and you realize that sometimes she's moody, whatever. But you start to get to know her. You're like, I don't know if we're going to get married, but this is kind of where we're at. And then you see a woman in the red dress and you're like, you know what? I think that's the girl. And so you quit this relationship with your business and you get into that relationship. But then you realize that that girl has crabs, she has a crazy ex-boyfriend, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't want to deal with any of this stuff, right? And so my CFO, was one of the first people that you're like, oh my God, I hired that person, it changed everything. So my CFO in Jim launch had taken 4 companies from 0 to 100 million. She had done over 40 M&A transactions. Her largest one was 5 billion, super experienced. She was at the very end of her career. And she was like, I'll take you guys, I'll take this one last ride with you guys. And so, mind you, Layla and I'm 26 or 27 at the time. Layla's 23, 24, and we're sitting across the table from a very experienced business person being like, please help us. And so one of the things that she taught me that I'll never forget is she said, the grass is always greener on the other side. You just don't know that it's fertilized with shit. And she's Southern, so she had this deep Southern accent. She's like, there's always shit.
Yeah.
Shit everywhere. And so she's like, I've been in enough businesses to know that all businesses have shit. And so you just have the shit you don't know about and the shit you do know about. And you're in this business, and so this is the shit you know. And that has been so profoundly impactful in my life because it was so hard for me to break the cycle. Really hard for me. I gave you my life story of the many businesses that I've been involved in. And so like the entrepreneurial ADD has been so real for me. And I've made some of the biggest career mistakes by just pursuing and splitting my attention between multiple endeavors. And I can say truthfully that this 2024 was the first year, and this is now 2025, the first time in my life where I haven't experienced FOMO. So fear of missing out. And it was one of those things that I just always had. I would see somebody doing really well. I was like, oh man, I should be getting into that. Like that, I shouldn't be doing this, I should be doing that. And it was one of those things, kind of like being happy, where like you don't realize you're happy. You just look back and you're like, you know what? That was a really good year. You kind of see it in retrospect. What I realized was that now when I hear someone say like, oh my God, I crushed it with this thing, I think that's amazing for them. I'm sure there's tons of problems that I don't know about, and that's amazing. But I'm going to keep doing this thing because this is the only thing I know how to do pretty well. And I'm just going to keep compounding my information advantage against everybody else who thinks this is easy and wants to get into it. And so I think that any massive company that you know of has existed for multiple decades. And in order for something to exist for multiple decades, the founder has to stay focused on that thing for the whole time. And I measure focus by the quantity and quality of things that you say no to. And I measure commitment, or I define commitment as the elimination of alternatives. And so if you think of marriage as the ultimate commitment, then it is the ultimate commitment because you've eliminated literally every alternative besides this person. And so I think that many business problems and many entrepreneurs would 5x, 10x their business if they simply gave themselves no way out. This is what I'm doing. And the term, burning the boats, but I'm eliminating all alternatives and structuring my life such that I make it very difficult to pursue the alternatives. And I think by doing that, you can actually conquer this cycle and make it past the split where you go crash and burn and then restart the doom loop, or make it to informed optimism and then eventually to the achievement that you want.
There's so much there. But it's such an important point. So where shall I start? So at that moment here, this crisis of meaning moment, what I see so much of is entrepreneurs not necessarily quitting the old thing, but just taking on something else. Mm-hmm. And entrepreneurs will come up to me in the gym and they'll say, hey, Steve, just want to let you know what I do and see if you can offer me any advice. And then they'll list 3 things. They'll say, I'm starting this crypto thing with my friend Dave. I've got this hair business where we're selling on e-com, and I've got this other thing. Yeah. And they almost assume that the more things they're doing, the higher the probability that they'll be successful in something. My mum was that. My mum has started 30 businesses, and I watched for my whole childhood how she would start a hairdressing salon, and then the person down the street running an estate agents would come in and say, we're making loads of money as an estate agent. She'd start that business would suck. She'd hit this moment of crisis of meaning. She'd then start a furniture business, and she jumped between 20 to 30 businesses, and it's kind of still happening now, where they last 6 months, they eventually go bust. She sort of like, like the monkeys that swing to the next branch, swings to the next thing. And there's never been the escape velocity that comes from this informed optimism part. So yeah, it really rang true for me in every sense of the word. This idea of like a focus, going against all of your instincts and your emotions, but being pivotal to...
Most people fail the first time. and the second, and the third. And sometimes what happens is that the failures just become a less failure. Like, in the beginning, like no one buys anything. But you do remember building the logo on the website and thinking that you had a business, but like nothing happens, right? And then finally you make your first sale, but you're like, this isn't a real business. Like, what's going on here? Like, I exchanged money, so I guess I technically am in business. Do I have to pay taxes on this now? Like, what happens, right? And then eventually you get to one where you're like, okay, now I'm starting to sell stuff and make money, but like I'm not actually making money. I'm making revenue, but I'm making no profit. And I'm like incurring all this risk and all this debt in order to get it going. And you're like still trying to figure it out. And then on like your fourth try, you're like, oh, what do you know? I made a profit. It took me 5 years to get here. Every entrepreneur that I know, so I don't know Zuck and I don't know Jeff Bezos, so unfortunately I'm not there. But the guys that I know, almost all of us like failed for a while. Like I don't know anybody who like crushed it in their first 5 years. Like most people like basically ate glass and stared into the abyss, to quote Elon Musk, which is just existential dread at all points in time. And the eating glass is the fact that all you do all day is deal with problems, which are mostly revolve around people. And somehow you're supposed to get work done in between. So if you're in that kind of underdog position, you can pop open the Leads book. And I have a chapter that I wrote on this, which is called More Better News. So it's 161, and I actually tell some of this story that I'm telling you right now. And one of the things that most smaller underdogs, really no matter what size you are relatively, have this belief that's false. And so I want to kind of crush it for you. Number one is that the volatility that you're experiencing is a result of inadequate volume. So you're not doing enough, which gives the appearance of volatility. So let me say it differently. If you were to sell one person every like 3 to 5 weeks, and you're like, yeah, every month I get like one customer, sometimes I get two customers, what that really means is that there's a certain amount of advertising activity that is occurring, whether it's you doing it, or it's other people doing it on your behalf, or it's word of mouth. Any of those things are happening, and it takes that much volume for you to get one new customer. And so the question we have to ask ourselves is, how can I take the amount of advertising that's occurring over 4 weeks to get me one customer and crush it into one day so I get one new customer every day? That's all it is. The volume, increasing volume negates luck and will give you consistency. The second piece is understanding where you actually sit here. Page 168, the size of the pie fallacy. So the issue is that most small businesses think that it's like this. They start advertising on one channel. They're really happy. Look at this big smiley face. Okay. Then a competitor comes in and they start advertising on the same channel. And then in their minds, they think, oh no, I have half of this market now. And then all of a sudden, 2 more competitors come in. And now you're like, oh no, I have a quarter of this market. It's shrinking fast. It's so saturated. But that's a fallacy. That's a lie. It's an illusion. This is what it looks like in reality. So most people see their market as one method, one platform, one medium. They're like, well, I make Instagram Reels, and that's how I get my customers. So anybody else who makes Instagram Reels, they're my market, and it's saturated. But the reality is that there's so many ways to get customers. You can do warm outreach, you can do cold outreach, you can post content, you can run ads, you can have affiliates, you could have referral networks, you could have employees doing this on your behalf, you could have agencies and headhunters who bring people in. All of these different vehicles for advertising. And then within those vehicles, now you have the platforms of all those things, right? So it's like you're making content on LinkedIn, you're making content on Twitter, you're making content on podcasts, you're making content on Twitter, TikTok, right, for however long it lasts, right? So all of these different platforms, it's like, so really, that little circle that you have is just this tiny itty bitty circle here, and all of these other circles and all of these other methods and all of these other mediums are basically empty. And so the reality is no one knows you exist. And so the answer is you have to advertise more. You have to let more people know about your stuff.
So you have pest control, $200,000-ish a year. You want to get to $10 million yesterday, and you're not sure what's holding you back.
Well, this question might be a little bit different than what you're used to.
Where's Ed? He's like, we went through the whole 4 things, tossed out the window.
No, toss it out the window because I have a partnership question.
Okay.
I'm 18 and I'm looking at doing a partnership with my buddy who owns the pest control company.
Okay.
Initially, I made the decision to partner with him.
Okay.
After coming here and talking to as many people as I can and just absorbing, people are telling me that maybe it's not a good partnership.
Okay. Well, what does he have that you don't have?
He's aggressive.
Okay.
I mean, that's...
okay. Yeah.
He
How do you
has...
define aggression?
I've been asked that. But he's willing to chase it.
Nice job. Thank you guys. They know.
He's willing to take a big risk and go for it.
Okay.
Now, I don't know that he has really a successful track record.
Okay.
So I don't.
Yeah.
To me, like I haven't done a partnership before. I'm pretty limited with my experience.
What problem does the partnership solve for you?
Like culture. I've been a solopreneur for 2 years, building by myself, and it's
Culture?
This is something where he's
Like
already
culture of you with you?
me with him. This would be my
Let's use a
personal.
different word than culture.
Okay.
I don't think culture is the right word. Unless you mean it's the rules that govern reinforcement in an organization, which I don't think is what you mean.
Everyone's aligned with growing the business and getting better. I do see skill deficits with some of the team members and
For you?
even the partner. Not necessarily. I mean, obviously within myself
Okay,
as well.
do you have any equity in this business?
5%
Okay.
if I bring 2 million revenue in. So
Okay.
it's contingent on revenue.
So 5% if you bring 2 million revenue. in.
Correct.
So you have 0 now,
Correct.
ish. Right.
Yeah.
And he has 100%, and this has $200,000 in revenue currently as
Correct.
a business.
Yeah.
So what stops you from driving $2 million in revenue to your own business?
I mean, I guess nothing. Beyond a lot of course, 2 million is a lot of revenue, but
Well, you'd have to do it to get the 5%, so that's fixed either way.
agreed. I figured it would be easier to do it without having to do the fulfillment side. So I'm in a sales position.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I evaluated it.
So, is this the first thing you've ever done?
No, I've been through some hustles. I did mailboxes. Mailbox replacements. That's
We
what
won't
I
go
did.
down that alley. But, okay, so what do you want to have happen, man? You life. This is not normally how these go, by the way.
I know. I mean, I want to work with the best, be the best, and be close to
Specific.
business.
Specific.
Business itself, I don't know beyond that, to be honest,
Okay.
if I'm being very honest.
No, honesty works. You know, my first boss, how old are you?
18.
So my first boss that I had, well, it's my first adult boss, not my first like teenage boss, but that might kind of apply there. But she said something to me that I've taken to heart, which was figuring out what you want is 99% of it. Getting what you want is the easy part. And I think there's a lot to that because like if you really know what you want, then fucking get it, right? And so I think that it's probably, like now you might be like, well, I haven't tasted anything. And that's okay. So maybe you're in a tasting mode. I think if you don't judge yourself as much, you won't constantly have this like existential angst of like, am I making the right decision? Am I ruining my life by making this or that? And you kind of stay in this analysis paralysis cycle. If you've done a handful of hustles, you can go out on your own. If this guy, like, I would rather you get your experience with an entrepreneur who's more experienced.
Okay.
Like if I want to earn in at 5%, I would like to go to a business that is at 10 million a year, so that I can learn how to do this right. Because the partner, and hopefully he's not here, and if he's here, sorry. If you're at $200,000 a year, like you just figured out that your ass is down and your head is up, right? And so it's like you have you know so little compared to what there is to know that like you're both. He's one step ahead of you, not 100.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'll zoom out since you guys are both here wherever you are. In order for a partnership to make sense long term, and this should make sense for him too. Now, if he's like, how do I incentivize a sales guy? I think the way he did it is a great way to do it.
Yeah.
But if I'm talking to you, right? If you want to do a partnership, they got to have money you don't have, they got to have skills you don't have, they got to have time you don't have, or they got to have network or distribution you don't have. Those are the things, right?
Okay.
Money, time, experience, skill, distribution. Those are the things. And so if somebody doesn't have one of those things, then why are we partnering? If we're both the same, then one of us isn't necessary. Because if it's like, hey, we both like this thing, let's just like attack it together, quickly it's like, well, I take out the trash and I think that's a 10 out of 10 effort. You take out the trash and I think it's a 4 out of 10 effort. So one of us will disagree.
That's where you see a partnership
Yeah,
based
falling
on that
apart.
foundation going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rockefeller said this, and then I'll transition, but he said, it's rare for great businesses to come out of great friendships. But it's common for great friendships to come out of great businesses. So if you start with a friendship and then try to build a business, very hard. If you start with a business and then you become friends, much easier. And so you would like very tactical advice. And so I will try to leave you with this. I would recommend, like, if you want to keep selling and doing what you're doing, that's fine. If you're like, I would like to make $50 million, it won't happen with you owning 5% of this. So it depends on your goal. You have to figure that out. I can't tell you that. Once you figure out that goal, then you think about what path is the highest likely to getting there. It might not be you starting that on your own right now. It might be I take 4 years to learn what it looks like in a company that's going from 10 to 100 or from 2 to 20. And then once you get that feeling of what it looks like to do it right, then you can peel off and do your own thing. But I think it's wildly undervalued for somebody who's starting out to get into, I would say, a company that's at, call it 15-ish headcount to like scaling from 15 to 100-ish. You learn so much in that setting that it's worth letting someone else take that risk so you can learn how to do it right. But it'll still start with what you want to do. If you're like, I would like to make $100,000 a year, you could just do that right now. And you could disregard everything I say and just go sell. But once you, if you're like, I want to make 10 or whatever, then you can still do that, but just know that as you're following that path, the goal is for you to learn, not earn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So you're in maximizing skill acquisition mode right now.
Okay.
That's the entire point. And that was a very long answer to your question of, if you want to keep selling, dude, you can keep selling. Just make sure that you're learning everything else about the business. If you don't feel like you're learning everything else about the business, you can start your own or go to a business that is going to do that. You said you wanted to partner. Realistically, you getting 5% is not you being a partner. It's you having a stake in the company.
Albus Tube. I have a beauty salon in Romania. Most money come in from permanent hair removal. The rest of people pay me rent. How can I scale it? Okay, permanent hair removal. Oh, Jesus. I was thinking like, I was like, who is paying for this? Body hair. Got it. Okay. How can I scale it? I find it difficult to get customers and my costs are high. Okay. Most money from, okay, the rest of the people pay rent. Okay, got it. So, I mean, I'm going to guess that I'm not sure if you're running ads. You might be mispriced, but usually, like, this is something that I call pseudo-medical, which is one of my favorite spaces to be in because you have so much pricing power. So I don't know the rules in Romania. I don't know if they're like super tough to do pseudo-medical type procedures there. And I probably won't try and translate US prices to you guys, but like, I'm guessing I'll just do relative. So the cost of a generic haircut here is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like $75 if it's like the commoditized haircut price. And the cost of laser hair removal for a package of call it like 6 to 8 will usually be like $2,500. And so maybe you can make that appropriate difference. And so if you're looking at your price points compared to like your hair stuff that you do, compared to your removal stuff, that might give you an idea of maybe that you're mispriced within Romania. Secondarily, I think this is it's super visual in terms of the nature of what you sell in terms of before and afters. And so I think organic Instagram for sure will be like monster for you. And given how small Romania is, I think that actually might work pretty well. So I would go organic first with before and afters. That's like easy to do. Google AdSense would be the second thing in terms of speed. Well, Google AdSense will be faster than posting. And then the third is that I would run meta ads. That would be my like three-pronged approach. It's like we probably have to change the price. You probably need to sell bundles, not sessions. You need to make sure that you're priced appropriately. And then given all of that, then we use those 3 marketing strategies. Cool. All right. If you had to build a business today with no audience, no capital, in only 90 days, what would you do that almost nobody else would be willing to do? What I've already done. Work, man. Work. No one's willing to work. It's interesting because maybe Julian can speak to this because he's here a lot with me at 4 a.m. But I think what the hardest thing to see that no one will ever be able to witness unless they literally work at acquisition.com is consistency. Because the only way to witness consistency is to also be consistent. Like you have to be there to see someone show up every day, right? Like if I showed you an hour and a half long workout, you might be like, that's it? And so like the thing is like the one workout isn't impressive. It's just that you do it for 20 straight years. That's the impressive part. And so there's so much, like, where you will beat everyone is in longevity. Like, it's one of the last remaining alphas that exists, is the patience of consistency, is being willing to do the same thing over and over again without immediate reward. And that is the thing that almost nobody else is willing to do, which is why all the fruits are on the other side of consistency, because so few willing people are able to take it. But the thing is it is simple. It's just hard because there's so many, every day that you have to do something, there's 100 reasons not to do it. And there's only one reason to do it, and it's far in the...
I was gonna ask, how important is it for someone to have that moment with the check where they just make their first?
Oh, I mean, in some ways I think it's everything, in other ways it's nothing. Like, one of the cool, shameless plug for school, the 30.44% of people who finish their first month of school make their first dollar online. And that's like, so like, that's why we do it. You know what I mean? Like, I know how hard that first dollar is. Like, there's so much to get the first dollar across the road, because the second dollar comes so much faster after that. That's why I invest in the company. That's why I'm so adamant about it. But anyways, the point is that, yes, I think having the first dollar get across is very important. But if you can reframe it from that experience points perspective, that there's probably 3 levels before that. You have to, like, level 1 is that you have to understand that it's my fault. Level 2 is that you have to use what you have, not what you wish you had, to get to where you want to go. And where you want to go isn't 100 steps forward, it's just the next step. And so, like, I don't think that anger drives me as much as it used to. But it was everything that I had when I started. And so if I had listened to the positivity mantra when I started, I never would have gotten going, because nothing made me feel happy. And so they were like, follow your passion. And I was like, my passion is to not be poor and to not be here in Baltimore. That's my passion, is not be here. And so that's what drove me. And so I think that it just needs to be restated that, like, is that the goal? Sure. But is that necessary to start? No, it's not. And so I can tell you that even when I was angry and getting through that, making more money did make my life better. Like, I had more ability to deal with inconveniences, hassles, health issues from family members that I had to foot the bill for, like all these things. Like, money can provide value. And so I'll say this thing that a mentor told me. He said, money does not buy happiness, but it can help you avoid pain. And so, like, I think that there's nothing wrong with making money. Obviously, I like doing it. But I just hate the people who espouse that you have to feel a certain way to win, or that winning when you're angry or sad or in pain or ashamed is somehow wrong. And so I just, like, you have to meet success where you're at. And the first step you have to take out of anger, and the next step you have to take out of sadness, and the next one you have to take out of shame, and use that to propel yourself forward. All that matters is you take the step. And one of the things that I always like is, for a very long time I didn't consider myself a good person. I mean, I still probably don't, but in terms of, like, I always identified with the villain and the oppressor in most scenarios, which is bad. But anyways, there's a point to this, is that I never thought that I deserved the good life. I didn't think I deserved the happy ending. I'll put it that way. And so the thing that got me through that was the idea, and this felt like, honestly, like gaming the system. So, like, from the evil side, was that I could still get the good guy's ending if I just did the thing that they do to get the ending. So I didn't have to do it with pure intentions. I didn't have to do it as a great guy. But if I just still did the things, I could still get the getting. And I think for me, that realization has been why my ruthless focus on, like, well, what did you do? And to everyone who listens to my stuff, like, it's like, great, throw the emotions out, throw the spiritual energy vibrations out. What do you do? Patience is just figuring out what to do in the meantime. Like, courage is acting as though you weren't afraid. like, what do you do? And then eliminating everything else, and then just doing that. And then doing whatever mental tricks you have to do, which is like, there were slaves who worked 7 days a week, so can I. Like, and then alternatively, catastrophizing the alternative path, which is that if I do not do anything, this is what will happen eventually. That pain in the future will be my pain today, and then actively thinking about what that pain would be like, and then seeing if that can make you more uncomfortable than the comfort that you're in. And I think Tony Robbins says this. He says, change happens when the pain of staying the same, when the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the same. And so if you're comfortable in staying the same, the point is to make yourself more in pain to get yourself to move. And so I think there's a skill in being able to future pace and think through what pain you're going to go through. Like if you're like, man, okay, I have gained 5 pounds a year and it has been 4 years, so I'm 20 pounds up. Well, if 4 years from now, I'm another 20 pounds heavier, and imagining the snide comments at the holiday party, or if you're a girl, the guy who says, man, she'd be really cute if she lost 40 pounds. Or like, even like, I'm going girl's perspective here. A guy who says something that's like, I would be with her, but she's just too fat. She's just not cute enough. And you're like, wow, that's so politically incorrect. Deal with it. It's fucking life. But the thing is like your thoughts don't need to be politically correct. They're your thoughts. They're no one else's thoughts. And so whatever you have to do to get yourself there. And for me, the idea that a girl that I would want to be with would be like, I just don't think he's ambitious enough. I don't think he's successful enough. Like those ideas killed me. And so I never wanted to be denied entry to somewhere because I didn't have these things. Now, do I believe that people should be denied entry? No, but I also realize that's the way the world is. And so I think you can balance both beliefs. Like I'd love things to be different, but I accept.
So you sell fitness coaching, you're doing $250,000 a year, and you're not sure what you want to do with your life. Okay, go for it.
No. So yeah, I mean, I'm preparing for medical school next year, entering, and I'm running this fitness company as well, which I'm passionate about. And ideally, we would like to be at 7 figures, you know, just running it. And the medical school process is slowing that down. But my end game is really looking at the branding, the long-term play. Like when I see what you've done, ads to branding, around making the greatest impact preventative health and medicine possible. So that's kind of where I'm at, trying to figure out how to think about it all, the timing, the sequencing.
What's the question?
How do I go about this process of balancing both? Is that even possible? And achieving both.
Well, you already are achieving both.
That's true. Yeah, the business has been declining though.
Declining?
Yeah, so it went from like 320 to 270-ish last year. It's still small. So
I'm just saying volatile, like that. It might be the same size, and you missed a week or two. But it sounds like I'm going to say back to you what I think the question is, which is like, should I quit medical school to pursue this fitness thing all in, or does it make more sense for me to forego some income today to have MD next to my name so that I could potentially make more in the future?
It's not about making more. I think it's also about, my vision would be to write books, speak around the world, and be an expert in preventive health, medicine.
You can do all that without an MD.
How?
I mean, can you name me some of the big health experts that aren't MDs?
Not at the level that I've thought of, like Dr. Hyman or Peter Attia.
Okay. How many years left do you have?
How many years left? Oh, I'm just starting next year, so that would be the plan. Yeah.
Do your parents want you to be an MD?
They don't care. After all the success I've
Must
had
be
with
nice.
the business. Well, before I started the business, I was pressured immensely, but after all the success, where I'm in a place where with the assets I've accumulated gratefully, I don't have to do it, but it's calling me. I've been volunteering in the nonprofit space and with.
What are you so split about, dude? Like, I mean, you give what, 7 years or 6 more years, and then you're an MD. Yeah. I mean, if Dr. Attia and the Amen Clinic and Huberman and all that stuff. Well, Huberman's a PhD, right? He's not an MD. And Attia, is he an MD or PhD?
He's an MD, yeah.
He's an MD?
Yeah.
If that's like, I want to be a doctor, then go be a doctor.
Okay.
Like the trade is that you're going to give 6 years and you're going to under earn for the next 6, and then you'll earn more later.
How would you build a brand around it in the best way possible?
Being a doctor or being not a doctor?
Going down that path, would you document the whole journey? What would you do for like brand leverage in the best long-term way possible?
I mean, what's going to matter more is that once you become a doctor, then that's like you're using the establishment as your brand credibility. You can also just like, so it's not a fair comparison if we're being real, right? It's not a fair comparison to say, would me with an MD be more successful than me without an MD? It's more, would me with an MD starting with a 6-year, not head start, whatever the reverse of that is, be more advanced than me with 6-year head start without an MD? So which of those do you think? But you don't want to make money. I can't remember. What was the whole thing?
The goal isn't like making.
This is why, just so you guys know,
Yeah.
my biggest pet peeve in the world is that. Because, and I'll tell you why. This decision is so hard for you because you have nothing to optimize against. Like, solve my life decision. What do you want? Don't know. Hard to solve, right? If you said I want to make more money, cool. Easy leverage to pull, make big number go up, happy face, right? If you're like, I want to have impact, then it's like, cool. Make the number of people that we're interacting with go up, happy face. If it's, I'm just not sure what I want to do with my life, that's a you thing. Once you figure that out, like figuring out what to do is the hard part. Getting it's the easy part. And I think way more people get stuck in the just years of like, I'm not sure what to do. And it's because they're afraid of making a decision. They're afraid of the path not taken. And so if you think about what deciding is, decadere, it's Latin, right? Which means to cut off. And so the question is, which future do you want to cut off? When you're 85 and you look back, which one do you regret more?
Not doing the MD path.
Done.
Yeah.
Great. So you just have to eat shit for 6 years and realize you're not going to make as much, and that's the trade.
Cool. Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
I'll be like, what is life? Is another one up here. Yeah.
Seeking.
Okay.
It seems like in Silicon Valley, there's often, Naval talks about this, like there's value.
Just Silicon Valley.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to know. In Silicon Valley, there's a lot of trend chasing, there's a lot of status seeking, and there's value in like doing low status activities. And I'm wondering in mid-market entrepreneurship, small businesses, like what is the shape of that? Is it different than Silicon Valley? Is it less pronounced, more pronounced? Like what is the version of, look, you just need to run a series of golf courses and be happy with that type of thing, or whatever the equivalent is?
I think it depends on who they compare themselves to.
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to that. I think tech guys compare themselves to other tech guys, and they want approval from tech guys, and so they do the activities that tech guys approve of.
Yeah.
If you're an HVAC guy, then it's going to be, you're going to do the activities that HVAC people think are cool, if they're the peer group that you actually compare yourself to.
Sure.
Which they might not be.
Yeah.
And to be fair,
I love the tech guys that sell their business for 9 figures and then are like, I need a cash flowing lifestyle business ASAP.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them.
Yeah.
A lot. Like a crazy amount. Like buying gas stations. Like it's a lot.
How bad is that?
Bad? What do you mean?
Like, because I imagine it's a grass is greener on the other side thing, where they enjoyed building their business, they sold it, they have all this cash, but they want cash flow, they want the stability of the cash flow, and so they want the idea of running a small business.
Check every month.
And they don't, exactly, but they don't think about what it means to, like, at 2 a.m. your gas station got robbed and you got to go down there and sort it out with the cops or something like that. And so I'm wondering about, like, what is the actual lesson there for someone who's like about to get over their skis?
Yeah. I think humans are inherently dissatisfied.
Okay.
And I think whatever you have, you want what you don't have.
Yeah.
And so if you're married, you're like, what life would be different if I was single. If you're a parent, you're like, can you remember when we didn't have kids? And if you don't have kids, you're like, I wish I had kids.
Yeah.
If you're an employee, you're like, man, I wish I would be an entrepreneur. And somebody you're an entrepreneur, you're like, man, it would be so nice to just show up and clock out at 5 and have to think about it and get a check. Like we just always, we want the benefits of a trade-off without the negatives of the trade-off.
Sure. Yeah.
And so when guys are in the cash flow business, because that's who I talk to the majority of the time, is like what they're thinking about all the time is like, it's hard to sell this business. I'm not really building my net worth. The multiples that I'm going to get on this aren't going to necessarily be that high. I'm dealing with people all day. I deal with low skilled labor, and I've got churn issues or finding techs that aren't going to show up drunk on the job. Like there's like one of my favorite quotes of all time. I'm going to try not to cuss on this one, but my CFO was. Deep South Texas when we were in Texas when we were building Gym Launch. Suzanne Shiflett, shout out to Suzanne. She was the reason we were able to sell Gym Launch. She had been a CFO for 4 companies from 1 to 100 million plus. Had done a $5 billion exit, and I think she'd been either buy side or sell side over 20 times.
Wow.
She was just like like just so weathered in a good way, right? And she said, "You know what, Alex?" She's like, "It's all shit." She was like, it's all shit. Every business is shit. It's all shit. And it was like, she said it with so much sincerity, because I was like, at the time, I was like, man, it'd be cool if we got this kind of multiple, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, it just doesn't, it all sucks. And it's just different type of suck, but it all sucks. What did people not understand about this? Suck at something, work for free lots of times, suck less, wait until people ask for free work and you can't take them on. Now you have more demand than you have supply, begin to charge money, boot out the free clients for paid clients, and then offer to keep working with those clients for money. Congrats, you have a business.
So I will say, I agree with that. Now, here's a counterpoint to that.
Yeah.
It is hard to take people from free to paying for a service.
Totally.
What is your way around that?
Well, it depends. So it depends on how high value the service is, number one. And number two is we start with free because you need to get reps, because you probably suck. And so it's like you're really getting free feedback from people that otherwise like shouldn't, because you will be terrible. But the transitioning people from free to paid really comes down to just how good you are. And if you are like, so for example, if I was redoing all your YouTube thumbnails and I said I would do it for free, now at your level, so everybody who's listening, don't immediately DM Graham, because he already has somebody, right? But like the thing is go for somebody who's like 1/10 of Graham's size, who can't really afford it. Give that guy the thumbnails, and if your thumbnails beat his thumbnails, he will. If you're like, okay, well, I have now all these people who are paying me, so you can pay me what they're paying me, or I'm just going to work with them. At that point, he'll either pay if he's making any money on his channel, or he won't. But like, there's real value that's being created there. But the idea is you want to get your roster filled, so that at that point, and I think part of this, I give this as advice because a lot of people in the beginning don't believe they can charge anything. And so it's like, fine, don't charge, get better. And then once you literally can't take people on, it's like, dude, I can't take you on. And then they're like, well, what would it take? And you're like, oh, money. I could do that. I could do it for money. And then now it's like you actually can help someone break through the belief of like, yeah, you can ask for money for stuff.
Do you think there's something to look out for people who just want something for free and will never pay for it?
Well, I'll say this. My big caveat for free, if I'm going to give it away, is I'll give something away for free. I'll give stuff away for free that costs me money if it's to a qualified prospect. So if I'm giving, if I'm trying to get into enterprise IT services, right? I'm not going to start with a local dry cleaning business who can't afford what I would like to eventually charge. So I want somebody who has, BANT, which is budget, authority, need, timing. So do they have the money to spend? Do they have the authority to make the decision? Do they have the need for this specific thing? Is now a good time? If I can get those 4 things, I'll give that person free stuff. Like if it's like, hey, I'm only doing back massages for billionaires. Fine. Then like you got to be a billionaire and I'll give it to you for free. Eventually I'll charge. But no, the homeless guy on the corner of the street will also take free massages, but he'll never be able to pay. And so it's not that we want to give free to anyone. It's just that we want to get the most qualified prospects, get good feedback from those customers, which we should treat them like customers, so that we can then eventually charge people just like them based on the feedback that we got.
My name is Corey Cooper. I own a design build ADU company based out of the city of San Diego.
Designville?
Design build. So we're general contractor.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, general contractor.
Yeah.
And we use those verticals for our own infill development deals that we just hold. So we just hold them long term, use the depreciation to offset that income. My wife's a real estate professional, so it works.
Good old reps. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So we do $5 million a year, looking to go to 10.
Okay.
Incredibly supply constrained. I work with my dad. That's one thing I didn't mention.
As in talent, tradesmen,
absolutely,
workers? Okay.
Absolutely. So the design, the margins are quite different on both. Yeah. But in the design, the margins are like 80%. Yeah. It's ridiculous. On the construction, we're about 30%. We do fine.
Yeah.
One of the constraints is I work with my pops. Sorry, Dad, if you ever see this.
Yeah.
He's yellow pad of paper guy, and there's just no way around it. So we do a good job. We've never marketed once. We've never paid $1 for.
Is he 80 or is he 60?
He's 68.
Yeah. He's got some years. He's got some years left. Yeah.
Nah, he's the man. He's
80. You're like, you can tough it out.
Yeah, yeah, right. So this is what's stopping me. There's a uniqueness to this. So I'm actually a professional firefighter and have been for the past 18 years.
Okay.
And so I have yet to go all in on this company because that's what.
Yeah, bro, go all in.
That's kind of like what we do. And I work 10 days a month. I'm a servant. I have a servant's heart. That's what I enjoy doing. It's a selfish endeavor, right? Like I help people because it makes me feel good about myself.
That's why everyone does everything.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
So,
okay.
I've at this point, 3 years ago, I should have been retired. I should have left the fire department, but I haven't.
Okay.
So that's what's stopping me. My question is, what objective criteria should I use to figure out when it's the right time to leave the fire department?
What are you making right now?
At fire department?
No.
Yeah. I make $168,000.
I can Google that.
Yeah, right. So our margins are pretty good. We make net about $1.2 million a year.
You're 50-50 with your pops?
Nah, he wants to go 50-50, but there's a lot that goes back into it. The reason why I got involved because he got sick, he was diagnosed with cancer.
Okay.
So this was to make sure that his jobs weren't losing money. For a long time, I looked, I'm like, Pops, you paid $20 or you paid $20,000 to do their job.
Yeah.
So they've now saved $1 million in the bank, and so we're 70-30, but at any point we could go 50-50, and I do everything.
Okay.
So
what is margin on the 5 again?
Overall 1.2.
Yeah, you said
it's split
1.2,
between
yeah.
like 80 and 30. We're on the planning side of it, and I work with other developers as well. So I do their plans on the front end, and they do the infill development.
Okay,
They
so
go way cheaper than we.
Let me just so
Yeah.
1.2. Let's assume that if you pull the lever, you'd be at 50-50.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So the question is, I make $168,000 a year, and in one thing, and I make $600,000 a year in another thing, and I would like to know when I am secure enough with my $600,000 a year to make up for 168.
Yeah, so to reframe it, actually, the catalyst for this question. Yeah, no, absolutely, and I love where this is going. The catalyst for this question was me listening to your podcast this morning that you just did.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get. It's not about money. Like I have more than I could ever have dreamed for. Like ever. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And so you're gonna get to the other side, and I've left, and I've created another job. I'm gonna have to quit another job that I don't like, right? So it just seems like, you having done that, gone to the other side of it. Where are you going to find meaning? What do you do on the other side of this thing? Look for something else to do, right? So
Well, I think I'm a big believer that a man must have a quest.
Sure.
And I am not religious, but I was once. And one of my favorite parts about this is that before God gave man a wife, he gave him a job. And so I see work as inextricable to how we live, right? And so fundamentally, you started helping your pops out with this business and running this business because you had 20 days a month on your hands, because you had to do something, right?
For sure.
And so this seems much more like a what do I do with my life question overall. And so if you were to leave the fire department, I guess fundamentally, why is there a problem? Because I think the premise of this was, I'm at 168, I've got 600K a year waiting for me here, and if I actually spent more time on it, I'm sure I could grow it, which I'm sure you could, because you'd have the time back. But I don't want to quit. And so that was the premise of our discussion. And to me, that's then don't quit. You're like, I don't want to quit, and if you tell me to quit, I'm going to tell you I don't want to quit. And I'm like, all right, well, don't quit.
Yeah, but no, I do want to quit. And to be honest, I would ask a question about all this, but when they were going over all the things, key man risks, I just circled all of them. So we're supply constrained. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's business. And if you had 10 more full days a month back, you could probably figure out some of these things.
I think so too.
Yeah. So what are you going to do?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I got a 45-minute flight tonight to figure it out. So
what? Well, let's do it. Let's do it. Why wouldn't you quit? Because the money's not a thing. So the money's gone. So because you obviously, numbers-wise, obviously you quit and do the business. Okay. So why not?
And forgive me because you guys all pay taxes. So I work for one of the most affluent fire departments in the nation. We work Rancho Santa Fe. It's a super affluent area in San Diego. I used to work for a department that ran 20 calls a day. We run 3 calls a day. I work 48-hour shifts, and I get more done at work than I do at home. Because of that, I've created Key Man Risk because I can just do it all at work.
Yeah.
And so to be honest, I go home and I have 2 young children, and so I get all that work done. When I go home, I am there. I coach.
You're like, honey, I got to go to work.
No, and she laughs. She's like, all right, for sure. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. And it's like, well, we slept all night. So it's like, it would be insane to walk away from that. And I have a super high seniority position as a captain.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're getting paid for study hall.
I mean, I hope my chief doesn't see this, but yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, fundamentally, if you're working 100% of the time that if you become less productive as a result of leaving the job, I see that as a double net negative.
For sure.
So if you quit the job, would you get more done in the other business? Let me just answer, because the math equation is, can I make $168,000 more dollars of profit times 2, because you got to split it, right? So $340,000 of profit, and you guys are running 1, 2 on 5, right? Mm-hmm. And so 25-ish% margins. So multiply that by 4. So 350 by 4. So probably another $1.2 to $1.5 million a year, whatever the math is, of top line. If you quit the fireman job, that would be your break even. Can you do that?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure?
Yeah.
But I thought the time you get back would be less productive.
I mean, I say that because I'm doing other shit during the day, right? I'm doing whatever I'm, right? So if I would, dove all in, remain focused, and went for it. And you cut the parachute, you have no choice. I would have no choice.
Okay.
And I would like to think that it's in my nature to make it happen.
So you'd like to quit. You're comfortable. You think you could grow this thing more.
Yeah.
And you're afraid to do it.
There you go.
And you rationalize why because of the other reasons, but you know that's not really true.
Yeah, it's like a therapy session, yeah.
So does that give you the answer?
It does.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
If you like this video and you're a business owner who wants to break through your current revenue ceiling, I distilled every lesson from scaling 10 businesses past 10 million and 3 businesses past 100 million into a completely free scaling roadmap that I've used to go from 0 to 1, 0 to 10, and 0 to 100 plus. And so you can click here and you can check it out. Again, absolutely free. And since you're a business owner, appreciate you and enjoy.